Is the Magnificent Ambersons really that magnificent? Find out today on Really Old Movies. Welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin, and today I'll be discussing the Orson Welles classic, The Magnificent Ambersons from 1942. Some essential movie details. This is the second major film directed by Orson Welles and stars many of the same cast members from Citizen Kane. Studio interference, however, changed the original ending of this movie and hurt relationships between Orson Welles and his then editor, Robert Wise, for almost 40 years. Now, the basic plot. This film was about the life of the Amberson family and the growing up of their son, George, who is a troublemaker. Over time, Eugene Morgan, who's in love with Isabel Amberson, George's mother, but she rejects him in their early years. He gets close to that family and even tries to marry Isabel when Isabel's husband passes away. George wants nothing to do with Eugene, or with getting a job, or with Eugene's affection for his mother. George grows to hate him. Eugene's daughter Lucy rejects George because of his lack of ambition, and this only angers George even more. Isabel falls gravely ill, and George prevents Eugene from seeing her. George falls into hard times and takes on the financial responsibility of himself and his Aunt Fanny and starts to work in a factory. He's in a serious car accident near the end of the film, and Eugene reconnects with Fanny and promises to take care of them both as they're both entering into George's hospital bed. So that's the plot to The Magnificent Ambersons. Now let's get into my review. The plot, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I thought it was pretty good, but I absolutely hated George, so there really wasn't anyone to root for or really like. All the other characters weren't really fleshed out, like his mom or his Aunt Fanny, which are characters we do feel bad for, but I couldn't root for George at all. He was terrible. And he's just super whiny and annoying, and the whole film revolves around him. If you don't have a lead that you can like and get behind, it's really hard to sell the movie, in my opinion. So, other than that, though, the story's pretty good. I love the other characters. They're fine. It's just a pretty good plot. In regards to acting, I give it a little bit higher, a 3.5 out of 5. Everyone is pretty good. The actor for George is just terrible. I just can't stand his character. He's just so awful. He's so annoying. And Joseph Cotton, he's really good as Eugene. I think he's a great and very underrated actor, and love that he's always in Orson Welles films. And then Anne Baxter, she's also in this film. She's great as Lucy. She's kind of funny, adds the comedic relief needed for this movie. It's a pretty serious movie. And everyone else is just okay. In regards to directing, now, I know it wasn't completely Orson Welles' fault, and I mainly blame Robert Wise because he's kind of a director in the movie too. I gave it a 1 out of 5. And like I said, it's mainly aimed at Robert. I thought the ending of the film had nothing to do with the rest of the movie. It just all of a sudden went super lovey-dovey and nice, just way out of left field. It just came out of nowhere and does not fit the tone of the movie at all. Now, granted, I don't like the movie. I don't really like the tone of the movie. I actually kind of liked the ending on its own. It just does not fit with this specific story in this specific film, and it really hurts it. Even if we had the original ending, it's really depressing, and I don't know. This is just a very sad movie. I thought Orson Welles did pretty good with the rest of it. I mean, he's great at cinematography. He's great at picking a cast for the most part, except for George. Like I said, I hated George. But the ending is just so terrible that it kind of unravels everything else that is set up in the movie. And like I said, I don't like the movie really. In regards to cinematography and special effects, however, I thought it was amazing. I gave it a 4 out of 5. The costumes were amazing. The use of the camera angles, the outdoor scenery, all of that was amazing. Great, great cinematography, especially in the Amberson house. They had some really great shots in that, especially with characters coming down the stairs or going up the stairs. Very dramatic, really cool. Um, but yeah, that's what I thought about cinematography. In regards to the music, I gave it a 3 out of 5. Pretty standard music, nothing too fancy. So it was good. And yeah, that's it really. Tallying that all up, that brings my Letterboxd score to a 2.9 out of 5, which I'll raise to a 3 out of 5. Would I recommend this movie? Yes, but really for Orson Welles fans, I think other people will be turned off to how annoying George is, how depressing the movie is. It's definitely not a movie for everyone. It's really for people who like kind of sad movies. I honestly think his other movies are better. I like Touch of Evil, which I'll talk about in a couple weeks, actually, my thoughts on that, and Citizen Kane. Like, I think those are his better movies. So, if you want to know about Orson Welles, I think stick to those two movies, not to this one. Yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts and feelings on Magnificent Ambersons. Like I said, it's an okay movie, but there are elements to it that made it really terrible. And I think it's a middle of the road Orson Welles movie. Again, I've only seen 3 of his movies, and so far, this is definitely like the bottom one. This is definitely the worst one. All right. Well, those are my thoughts and feelings on the Magnificent Ambersons from 1942. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Make sure to subscribe to our Instagram or Facebook at Really Old Movies, where I discuss details about the week's particular film. Also, make sure to follow us on Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon Music, where new episodes are released Saturdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. This has been Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin. Take care.